So let's do a stoichiometric calculation based on an equation. Okay, so the fermentation of glucose produces ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide according to the following equation. C6H12O6 and fermentation, okay, so no oxygen involved, goes to 2C2H5OH plus 2 CO2. The question is, how many grams of glucose are required to produce 5.2 grams of ethanol, C2H5OH. So how many grams of glucose do I need in order to produce 5.2 grams of C2H5OH? Okay, so let's take a look. The two species that we're talking about are glucose and C2H5OH. We need to pass through moles. We're given grams of C2H5OH that we want. We want to find the number of grams of glucose. Here is the process. Based on this equation, I'll write it like this. I need grams of glucose. Grams of glucose comes from moles of glucose. Moles of glucose I can get from moles of ethanol. And moles of ethanol comes from grams of ethanol. That's the process. I'm given grams of this. I'm given 5.2 grams of this. I have to go to the moles, from grams to moles, mole to mole. I use mole ratio, that one, and then from mole back to gram. This is my path. I go from here to here to here to here. That's it. I have 1, 2, 3 arrows. That's 3 conversion factors. So let's go ahead and write this down. We always start with what we're given. 5.2 grams of ETOH. ETOH is just a shorthand for ethanol. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. I have grams of ETOH here. I'm going to moles. Moles of ETOH. Notice I'm not going to do the numbers until afterward. I have moles of ETOH here because, again, they have to cancel. And it's also the thing that I'm coming from. I'm going to moles of glucose. And this is moles of glucose, grams of glucose. So 5.2 grams of ethanol. Ethanol happens to be 46 grams per mole. The mole ratio, how many moles of ethanol to moles of glucose? Moles of ethanol, 2. Moles of glucose, 1. That's why you need a balanced equation. Glucose is 180 grams per mole. Therefore, my final answer is 10.17 grams of glucose. 10.17 grams of glucose will produce 5.2 grams of ethanol. Standard stoichiometry. The two species were glucose and CH3OH. There is my 1 mole, mole of glucose, mole of ethanol. These are the relationships. I need mole of glucose, I need grams of glucose coming from grams of ethanol. This is my path. If you can't just do it automatically, draw it out. See the solution path, and the path will tell you what the mathematics looks like. Okay?